Humans, what have you learned? Programmed to beat you. Humans, what have you learned? Programmed to beat you. Humans, what have you learned? Programmed to beat you. Mistakes. It was programmed to beat you. Humans, what have you learned? It was programmed to beat you.
But here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Hello, and welcome back to FRLT 4's. Yes, it is sadly that time. We have reached the finale of Season 2, Round 10 at Austria. We have finally made it. And I'm joined by a co-com this week. I think it's the same as last week, or maybe not. I can't remember exactly. It is not Cots as it shows up on the screen, because I'm a bit of a dimwit and forgot to change that. But I am joined by my great friend, Manatee. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm great. I'm really glad to be here and help commentate.
Fair enough. It's nice to have you here. It's nice to not be alone. But let's go through a few things now. So first of all, the calendar, of course, you guys know. We've done Bahrain, Qatar. We've done pretty much every track all the way up to round 9. We've just got one last race, one last hurdle left to the season here in 4s. Here is the track map, though, of Austria. 4.318 kilometers, 2.683 miles, 10 turns, 3 DRS zones down the pit straight, second straight, and the back straight at the top of the hill. Of course, shortest track for lap time, and also the shortest track mainly because of because it has the least corners, specifically. Least corners out of the calendar. Not the shortest track. I believe Monaco is the shortest track, actually, on the calendar, if I'm correct. Well, it might actually be Austria. I think it's between the two, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it is actually Monaco.
Yeah, I thought so. Here are the team standings, though. POR continue their title charge. Bit of a rough race last time round. Saw themselves only sitting now 29 points in the lead of the constructors, followed by AERO, who bring themselves up to second. TIR, of course, not racing last week, left them out in the mud a little bit, and now heading towards this race. They need to pick that pace back up again and score about 40-odd points to win this championship, only if AERO and POR don't score any points, of course. XPG chasing after that 4th place to hold on to it, but team, of course, HDL again not appearing here tonight, but LR are chasing them very much to close up and get that 5th place in the constructors. SCT also not appearing tonight because there were too many teams to fit in one lobby. We're going to be getting going in the next minute, and people are absolutely being, oh my god, people are all over the place.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Holy.
Just finishing up with the invites, actually.
Yeah, holy. Well, we're going to go now, anyway. We're going to go in the next about 20 seconds, because we need to go, because we're about 5 minutes late. To today.
Okay, I just invited the last person, so it should be full in a second.
We should have 18 or 19 or some other random amount. You might have to add Danny B. You might have to add that man.
Danny B, who's that?
He's typing. Let me type this. And then we're going to go into qualifying. My apologies for us being rather late to this evening.
Yeah, so interesting race, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one, of course. It is Austria. We go to the Austrian hills, of course, for it. Oh my god. I'm being asked questions. I don't know.
I sent him an invite.
Yeah, he's in.
Alright, sounds good then.
Should be interesting tonight, though, because, of course, it's championship finale. It's between realistically, 3 teams can still win the constructors in this final race, because, of course, you have 4 drivers per team instead of course, just 2. So instead of 44 points being the maximum, you can score over, I think, 72 or 73 points, if I remember correctly. I should really remember that, because I've been doing it all season, but I never remember for the life of me. But yeah, so... Oh, it's raining. It's heavy rain. It's heavy rain.
This around Austria is going to be interesting.
God. Holy... The drivers will be hoping for some dry conditions for the race at least, but I cannot see them having any good laps or even making it around a single lap if they're on a dry setup. They are gonna get thrashed by this qualifying.
Yeah, this is going to be very tough. It's very heavy rain, and of course, that needs a very different skill set than just driving in the dry, especially on this game.
Very much. Um,
It's going to be interesting with setups because this game still is pretty new. I mean, it's only
it's
a few months
reasonably
old.
new, but thing is, I already know people who have already spent 400, 500 hours on the game already. So when you sort of, like, I know a lot of drivers have spent at least 200 hours on this game. I know a lot of drivers in, for instance, Racing Tonight have spent in excess of at least 150 hours, most of them. So they've already got quite a bit of time on the game. But yeah, it's a reasonably new game, but looking at, we've got 18 drivers though for tonight, but it's going to be an interestingly close grid, because the one man I'm looking to specifically is I think it's the McLaren's coming out of the pits. It's one of the two McLaren's coming out of the pits. It's actually Bushy Bush, who has put in decent performances for, of course, his team this season, POR and also HDL, because he drove for both. But he's here tonight in the POR. He's in for POR here tonight. And he's had some very decent performances, but sadly, the one thing that I've only seen from him is that he struggles at the end of races, and that's really lost in performance. But overall, he's been one of the most sort of successful and probably one of the most consistent drivers that is out on the grid here today.
Yeah, that is interesting because, of course, experience is going to play a big part in, especially in the wet. And if we have a wet race, that's going to be pretty interesting. Have we had a wet race this season already?
Yes, I believe we've had 2 or 3 wet races across the tiers. I think we did have a wet race for 4s. I can't remember which race it was, but I think we have already had a wet race. I think we've had at least one wet race in every tier. But Bushy Bush is starting his lap. Let's go into turn 1, throwing the car through. Over the curb he goes. Very nice. Whoa, almost losing the car completely. Of course, it is full wet conditions, so don't be expecting the prettiest of driving from anyone out there, because everybody, it's not so much driving, it's about surviving. And into turn 3, can Bushy Bush survive? He does, just about. Not as much slipping on the rear, but you can just see how much wheel spin you get on this year's game in the wet conditions. Really, he's struggling to sort of get away from any corner to get an exit. And into turn 4 he goes. Not too bad from Bushy Bush, very calm. The McLaren first looked like he was really having to fight it through turn 1, but since then it's not been too bad for him, has it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it looks pretty good for him. He's sliding through the corners, looking like he's really trying to maximize his lap time. It is looking very good. But of course, in the wet weather, you don't have to be as precise. So there's, I'd say, quite a bit more room for error. So that will definitely make a difference for what kind of lap times we're going to see as he sets a 1:14. Of course, with track evolution, the track's just going to be getting faster and faster. So every driver will want to get a lap in near the end, and they will want to be the driver to cross the finish line last, because in wet qualifying, that is typically the biggest advantage you can get.
Yeah, very much. We've got FRLT coming up to the line. He goes P2, not too far behind Bushy Bush. I think we're going to see a lot of times in the 1 minute 15s, 1 minute 14s. I think that's what we're going to see for the moment. Mr. Big Kurak, holy. Some names crack me up, but he goes, wow, actually, he goes quite close to Bushy Bush, 400ths behind, as Kuchars goes even closer behind him, and
on the intermediate tyre, Milan sets the fastest lap by 7/10.
Yes, he does. And I clicked a button for a second there that absolutely made something disappear from from my screen.
So it still does look like wet conditions. So if Milan tries going on the wet tyre, and goes for a lap soon, maybe he will be able to set an even fast lap if that's what he can do on the intermediates. But of course, it always depends on the driver's skill set, doesn't it?
I do apologise for having to go off the screen. I'm having to fix my settings because it's gone to the wrong keyboard preset, and it's screwing around with the with the game settings. That should work now. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Milan and Len, of course, both up there. So apologies about that for a second. I was having to fix that because it was all over the place. Yeah. So there he goes. Not too bad. Kuchar's finding even more time. It's definitely, even though it looks like it's raining more, they're somehow getting a lot faster.
Yeah, I think you can definitely see the track getting a bit dry. You can see those spots where the tires are going and displacing the water. It's if you follow the line every other driver is taking, even if it's not the most conventional line, you will go quite a bit quicker. So as more drivers come out, the faster the times that are being set are going to be.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. Of course, we've got quite a lot of qualifying bans for tonight. A lot of teams having to rush in drivers right at the end. I mean, we are looking at literally 5 drivers at the moment, near on, a quarter of the grid having to miss out qualifying because of qualifying bans. But of course, that does come down to, of course, management and everything. So it's not particularly a problem with them. But Minjake, by the way, holy Jesus, Minjake, the amount of time that man found. He's found near on half a second over Kuchar's. AERO really going to try and win this championship here tonight. You can't lie, P1, P4, P9, and P15. I know that doesn't look too great, but you've got to also count in that these, they haven't had the best of runs to start off with. I'm trying to figure out who's coming up to the line next. It's a Williams that is coming up to the line next. It's Stefan Kuchen who's going slower, but I think he's going to be pushing on his lap now.
Bushy Bush is on quite a quick lap. He set a purple first sector, and he is about to cross the line now. Is it going to be quicker than the 2 Hasses in front? No, it's not. It's just he's going to slot in right behind them, 200ths behind.
Very interesting to see there that a lot of drivers are starting to get really close to that lap time. We've got Anonymous coming up to the line next. He's very fast. He's also very close behind. You see, look at this, all within a 10th. 4 drivers within a 10th of each other at the moment for pole position. And this is what I love about rain. Although drivers hate it, and let's be honest, if I was driving, I'd hate it too. This is something that I do love about the sort of how the drivers do get a lot closer to each other the minute that this does start happening. And so that is the one thing I'll say I love about it. But Tartar Sauce, he's just starting a lap. Is Milan coming in? I think Milan is not coming in. He's actually going for another lap. I'm trying to figure out who's on laps and who is just on in laps. I think Len is pushing on a lap at the moment. Some drivers still going for the intermediates or the wet tyres, by the way. Nobody's made a specific choice on what they want to go for right now. So, as Len, he finds a lot of time. And that is a lot of time. 6.5 tenths he's found in one single lap. And this is like lap times that were like a minute and a half ago.
Oh, as the Ferrari in the pit lane gets quite a big sniff of the grass and locks up, trying to stay.
Ooh.
Trying to keep in the speed limit in the pit lane, and it looked like he was about to go into the wall there.
Ooh, little bit too close. Little bit too close. We'll say that. But Tartar Sauce is coming around. He's proven himself, but he's invalidated actually. Very, very close. Let's see what does he do when he crosses the line. Was he going to have a big lap? No, it wasn't. It was half a second faster, but it would have actually only promoted him to P7, so he wasn't finding a huge amount of time, I must say. We've got Shadow, who's on a lap at the moment for... we've got Shadow on a lap right now. He's making his way around. Milan goes fastest of all. He finds another 4 tenths. Holy, the lap times are coming down. This is a real battle, isn't it? It's now all between AERO, LR, and of course POR, who are all really fighting for this. Shadow comes up to the line. He only goes P11. I mean, XPG's day isn't getting much better, is it? It's really not getting much better. P11 what is it, P8, P11, P12, and P17 sitting for these three at the moment. You know, they're these four, sorry, at the moment. They're really not having the best of days.
No, not really. And I feel like we're going to start to see a lot more drivers start coming onto the intermediate tire on their next few laps, because the track evolution is becoming quite well. The track is becoming quite evoluted, and the intermediate tire, of course, with that is going to become faster and faster. And if you've had those drivers in the early stages when it was even wetter, setting, or as Courage sets a fastest lap time on the intermediate tire, taking 1.5 tenths out of Milan.
Crucial's absolute. That's a lot. Again, but can you see the lap times aren't actually coming down as much as they were a minute ago? They were coming down by, you know, like half a second at a time. Now they're only sort of coming down by sort of maybe a tenth and a half, you know, at a time now, maybe 3-4 tenths. So they're starting, you know, the difference is starting to drop down a bit, and you can see a definite dry line coming out. Do you think it could be dry by the end of qualifying? Because the rain, compared to 3 minutes ago, has significantly sort of dropped. You know, it's about half the amount. Do you see a sort of dry end to qualifying, or do you think it's going to be like this till the end?
No, you know, I really don't think so, because you see, if it stopped raining by now, I definitely would think so, but it's still raining, and even though that dry line is forming, as long as it keeps raining, it's not going to get below a certain point of how damp the track is. So I believe it's just going to be intermediate conditions until the end.
Fair enough. I've just seen Minjake go fastest of all. Again, only 400ths this time. So he went from a tenth and a half to now 400ths difference. They're not improving as much as we thought they would have been. We've got Milan coming up to the line now. He's going to go fastest. He goes into an 11.6. But I think he made a big mistake in the final sector, because by the end of the second sector, by the way, he was only up by 0.180. So he's clearly made a huge mistake. So he's only up by about 2 tenths. So he found another 4 tenths from somewhere. And that's, of course, sent him hugely up on his lap time. We got, who have we got coming to the line next? We got Anonymous coming to the line next, who goes fastest of all. He finds another 3.5 tenths. This is odd.
Yeah, that is quite incredible, considering Minjake's lap time that he just set about 2 minutes ago is almost a whole second slower. So I think it's just...
Minjake goes second, by the way. He's closed that back up again. He's 11.5 now.
I think it's not the track that's not evoluting, but it's the drivers that are having to get used to the track that is getting quicker and quicker. They don't quite know where they can push themselves lap by lap, so it's really a guessing game, because it's not like you're doing laps constantly, like you would be in a race where it's gradually getting drier. You go out and it gets a lot drier, but you don't know where it's still wet. So it's really a guessing game. That's what makes the difference, as Len sets a 1:11.1, clearly getting the better of everyone else.
Yeah, I think it could be dry by the end of the session. Quite possibly, with that dry line, we might see dry tyres maybe wander out on the track, because we're quickly approaching drier times, aren't we? We're quickly approaching them. Race start lap times, that's kind of where we're starting to approach, around the 1 minute 5s, 1 minute 6s. We're 5 seconds away, but we're coming down by about 2 tenths each sort of 20 seconds. There's a lot more time coming out of this. But yeah, I don't think it will be, but there's a chance that it might be.
There is a chance, but with the rain, I just don't think it would happen.
Yeah, fair. I mean, fair enough. I'm kind of leaning towards that too. There was the slight bit of hope in my heart that we might see some, changing conditions. I think who do we have on a lap? We have Milan, I think, who's on a lap. By the way, he's finding a lot of time.
As Geekin sets fastest sector 2.
Very strong from Geekin there. Is he? I think he's coming in though. I think he is coming in. No, he isn't.
I don't think so. He's about to cross the line, and it's going to be a 1. Oh, that's not a good lap time. That's a 1:11.6.
Milan, by the way, couldn't beat
Len.
He couldn't beat Len. Even though he's come out later, he couldn't beat him. So maybe there is a limit now to the lap time that you can gain, because I think the drivers are starting to find the limit they can find on the intermediates or wets, or most likely the intermediates, because Milan couldn't beat Len's lap time. And that's a worrying thing when the lap times were constantly being beaten by each other, and now you've got Milan, who was, he was really setting the pace along with his teammate Minjake, and now he's not been able to beat that pace of Len.
I think for a final lap, for some drivers, I definitely think, I definitely think they might try and go out on the dry tires. I don't think it will work, but maybe a compromise like that could gain you about 5/10. It really depends where the driver's skill is, because of course the intermediates and the wets are a bit more difficult to use. Maybe if you try really hard and see where it's the driest and where you can gain the most time, slide the rears out and really abuse the mechanics of this game, I definitely think a dry lap could work, but I don't think every driver is capable of that.
Milan, by the way, he made a mistake. I've just been told he made a mistake on his lap. That's why he didn't beat Len. He's up. By the way, he is already up by almost 0.2 of a second in the first sector alone. So he might have made that mistake. We'll have to see his middle sector time. But if he made that mistake earlier on in the lap, it's now all about, of course, hooking it up and keeping it together for the rest of the lap, as he's going to be facing 2 cars of traffic. He's up by near on 0.4 of a second. We're going to see maybe sub 1 minute 10s, but at least sub 1 minute 11s at the moment. He gets past one car. The other car, of course, is far enough in front of him, which is fair enough. Coming round the final corner comes Milan. He goes really up to the line there. He's pushing everything he can. Up to the line. 1 minute 10.624 is the time to beat. That's what everybody has now got to aim for in this session. We now look to Stefan Kuchen, by the way, who's coming up to the line next. He's on a lap. He's on wet tyres, though. He's really gone for an alternative strategy here. Maybe seeing sort of more intermediate conditions during the race, maybe wanting to save them. But he still sets a 1 minute 11.8, so it's necessarily not a bad lap time, even for that. Looking to the next driver on a lap, actually, trying to find somebody on a lap.
Let me just make it clear. Milan has just set that lap time on. All his lap times have been on one set of tyres. He has not changed his tyres once. That lap time was on 11 lap-old intermediates.
By the way, Minjake is improving by 0.8 of a second. He's finding a lot of time. He goes a lot faster. A 1 minute 10.264. His teammate will be able to reach the line, but it might be a difficult one for him. Shadow just went P10. I think we got Len, who's just starting his lap. We got Kuchas, who is coming around. He's not improving on his lap. I think he might be seeing his qualifying session over here and now. We've got Patrick, who's coming up to the line next. He's going to go P6, waiting for the Mercedes. One Mercedes is starting their lap. The other one is as well. I think Milan, he is going to go for another lap. Milan is going to come across the line with 6 seconds remaining. He's just done it. FLR, by the way, he goes into P3, just slotting in. And very close there. Everybody just making it. Stefan Kuchen is the first to come into the pits. But we're going to actually be looking to Kurak to be the first, as Bushy Bush crashes, I do believe. But we got to look to Kurak as he makes his way around the final corner. He's improved by over a second. So we could be seeing him go top 5 potentially. As he comes up to the line, where is he going to go? He is going to go P4. Very close. That's beaten by Tartar Sauce almost immediately. I think we got Minjake up to the line. He's invalidated. He did improve by near on 0.3 on that lap. So he's really lost out from that. We got Shadow coming up to the line. He's only improving by a small amount. Is it enough to beat his teammate? No, it isn't. It won't be enough. We got Len next. He's going to go fastest of all. And sub 1 minute 10s. It has happened. We got Kuchas coming up to the line next. What can he do? He crosses the line and goes P2. Almost there for him. Very close. As Anonymous goes even faster. His teammate unable to beat that. But we got to look back to Milan. Is he improving? No, he's done.
That is incredible.
I think we saw the Ferrari. I think that was the Ferrari of Patrick, who spun on the final corner.
Oh, and he's in the wall now. He's just lost his front
And we're
wing.
waiting just for FLR.
And is he going to get in the way of the Aston Martin? Oh, yes, and they have had contact. Was that? Did that ruin the Aston Martin's lap? Are we going to see an incident report about that?
We might. I don't know. But this is the qualifying order for the grid for the race. Anonymous is on pole, followed by Len, Kuchars, Minjake, Geekin, Milan, FLR, Tartar Sauce, Kurak, Patrick, Bushy Bush, Stefan Kuchen, Shadow, Midfield Maestro, Robbie Jacobs, Gauzy, Pishi, Advances, and Unknown, who are all going to be taking up the grid. Very, very interesting for the race it will be, and that is the grid. In your opinion, who would you say was the guy who surprised you most?
I think it might have been Kuhaj because, in all honesty, we didn't really see much of him from the start of qualifying. He really started to show himself near the end. We didn't see him starting to set incredible lap times, but to start in the top, top 3 now? That's pretty nice, being in the sidelines for the whole of qualifying, and he just sets a beautiful lap time, just times the exit of the pits perfectly, and manages to set a time that is really going to put him in a good position for the race.
It most certainly will. One thing I find very interesting to see about currently where everybody is that I'm looking at sort of some of the drivers and sort of what they can do. But the man who really lost out most from that was Bushy Bush. He lost out most.
Because did he crash?
Yeah, he did. It seemed like he crashed into turn 1, like he maybe gave up, like he knew he wasn't improving, like he might have invalidated before the final corner. But we are getting ready a little bit earlier than we were meant to. But it doesn't matter. We're getting ready now. And here we go. And here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in Austria for FRLT 4's the finale. And this is a good getaway from Anonymous. It's exactly what he needed. A lot of carnage going on in the middle of the track. A lot of side-by-side happening. Anybody going off track? I don't see anybody going off track. So very clean through turn 1 they go. No problems for anyone. As Anonymous continues to lead as we head up the hill towards turn 3. You can see almost 3 wide. Further behind. As somebody gets tagged actually. I think that was Minjake who got tagged. I think it was Minjake who got tagged, but the front 4 have completely walked away with this.
That is incredible. That was such a good start, and we saw the Ferrari of Patrick with a jump start drive-through penalty. That will definitely hurt his race. He'll want to make up as many positions as possible as he just goes up to P7.
A Minjake! He's run out of road. He tried to go side by side. Sorry for interrupting there. But he just got pushed off into the gravel and down to P10. One side of AERO is having a good day and the other side is having an absolute awful one.
That is incredible, as we also saw both Aston Martins go to the back. Very unfortunate. It was a very hectic race start, as we already see several cars coming into the pits with damage.
I do think those were the guys who potentially caused the problems off the start, I do believe. I think that was Tarsus who did a dive bomb, or he got hit into by his teammates. I do believe that might have been. Because see, Minjake, he's just falling through the order, isn't he? He's down to P11 now. Advances trying to make a move on... that's Patrick he's making the move on, and there he goes. Is he going to try and head it in? No, because Patrick goes rather deep. Not able to make the move though, but here comes once again Minjake back up into the top 10. Maybe he's gotten maybe he's cooled off a little bit off of lap 1, and now he's making his way past the Williams, and he's trying to a little bit of pushing and pulling from everybody. But I think that might be, they're still side by side actually. They're still going for it into the penultimate corner. They're still going into the penultimate corner. They go, and ultimately, as of course Patrick has to go into the pits. But ultimately, Minjake finds himself in P10 still and getting overtaken, and so now he returns back to P11. But back up to P10.
As we also saw Kuhaj take the lead of the race, as it is now 3 wide. And Len goes back into the lead of the race. There's contact between all 3 cars. The Alpine going into the back of the Williams, and Anonymous also touching the back of the Alpine.
Yeah, and there's another move going on into the next corner. As Tartasaur sadly becomes our first retirement of the session. I think he had maybe rear wing damage because I think his teammate hit into the back of him since, of course, Patrick got that jump start. So it could have been contact between him and his teammate. But now Len leads. Kuchar's following behind. Anonymous loses the lead as a... Wow. Oh, been a full-on crash.
Ooh.
Full-on crash. We've got 2 cars coming up to it. Can we see what's happened here? Because it's Aston Martin. It's just gone, sadly. I wish we could have had a special camera just to look at the crash. Rather, it's only a virtual safety car, so it's not actually hurting anybody. But both Ferraris, half of XPG, are sadly out of this race. And we're only on lap 3.
Yeah, that would be a very unfortunate start for them, but I don't think they were challenging for the title, were they?
No, they were fighting for P4 in the Constructors because they're just ahead of HDL, who aren't racing here tonight. Once again, I think for the 3rd or 4th time now in a row, which is quite strange because they were they were the championship leaders, by the way, before they left, before they went.
So this virtual safety car gives the drivers a bit of time to gain their composure after what was a pretty hectic race start. And of course we saw Minjag, he looked so promising, but of course he fell through the pack. And I have to say, going from wet conditions to a full dry track, I think it's very difficult for the drivers because you can't judge the condition of the track just by looking at it straight away. So to adapt and to be quick straight away and to gain positions off the start on a track which is in completely different condition than you were just driving, it is very difficult. So
Anonymous in the pits, by the way, he's come in.
Yeah,
he was really fighting there for the win. So maybe there's a bit of an alternative strategy going on. Another car comes in, another 1 or 2. There is a full-on safety car, by the way. I know it says virtual safety car, but it's a full-on safety car now.
Oh yeah, I see. The safety car is out.
I've just noticed that.
Yeah, another quirk of this game.
Yeah,
Who could have
another
guessed?
quirk. But yeah, at the moment, disappointing day for some people, of course. XPG not walking away with exactly what they wanted. When I look at the grid, though, at the moment, I must say that it's still been a pretty close start. You know, the top 5 were still all within a second of each other. You know, they were still very close to each other. You know, they could have all still had DRS.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting restart.
Yeah, it is, because now everybody's closed back up. And Anonymous, by the way, has just gotten a free pit stop. So he's gotten a nice free pit stop there without losing too much, because he was, of course, P4. And now he's down to P10, but he's on those fresher tyres.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting restart because a rolling start can always be a lot more hectic than even a standing start, as Lance Stroll showed us this season. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see who can take the best of it.
I'm seeing some people complain, by the way, in the Force chat about us starting early. Okay, we got some interesting words going on. I'm not going to talk about that because that's something that I'd rather talk about behind the scenes. You guys getting some recordings of behind the scenes, but yeah, I'm really confused. It's because they're just, by the way, just to fill you guys in just very slightly, they are talking about the readying up and the readying up early. It was like a minute and a half early, by the way. Minute and 18 seconds, actually. So
yeah,
I wouldn't hugely kill somebody over that. They're saying restart. They're saying they want to restart, but no. We're now 6 laps in. And anyway, it was, yeah, you start early, but I'm not going to restart a whole lobby. You know, if you started 5 minutes early, I'll go yes. But I'm not going to restart when it was literally a minute and a half, as the safety car is now coming into the pits. Finally, the drivers are going to get going on lap 7. Len leads from Geekin from Milan. AERO making their intentions clear. But so are POR, who are also sitting double behind as well, aren't they? You know, 4th and 5th at the moment. Very, very mixed grid. you know, it's going to be interesting these last few laps because at the moment, Kuchar's kind of out of the question. He's behind Anonymous, so if he can get ahead of Anonymous, I think he went into the pits. But
oh yeah, he did, and it's very nice seeing all the drivers weaving. It's just it just makes it look really cool. You get what I mean? Just warming their tires, getting ready for the restart.
Len is on his way. He crosses line to start lap 7 out of 36. Into turn 1 he goes. He leads. He's actually gotten a pretty decent restart. I will say that. He's gotten away quite nicely. Of course, no DRS straight away. So it does mean he's going to hold on to this lead a bit. But compared to the race start, everybody's rather a bit further apart, aren't they? They've gotten quite a bit further apart. But Len not having the best of hairpins. He's actually had a rather rough hairpin because Geekin is now all over the back of him. And here comes Geekin around the outside. Into turn 4 he goes. Side by side, who's going to take the lead? AERO versus LR for the win. They're still going at it as they head up towards the next corner. And ultimately, it will be a new race leader. Geekin takes the lead away from the safety car. And that is exactly what AERO needs to control this race. And probably at the moment, take the championship.
Oh, as we see someone at the back go off. Oh, and we get several time penalties. There has been an incident. Anonymous has fallen back. Someone has front wing damage. I believe it's Courage, but I don't actually know who it is. I definitely saw some front wing end plates flying.
No, it isn't the Alpine. It isn't Courage at the moment. It might be somebody else. I'm trying to figure out who it was. Could be Shadow. Could be Shadow. I think it is Shadow.
As Len, and they are fighting to take the lead of the race as Len is on the outside. They're going through the straight side by side, but Len gets the better of it. The Mercedes having to tuck in just behind. As more cars have a go at him, it's now the Haas on the inside of Len, but Len just gets the better of it. But now Geekin is fighting to keep position. He's down into P3. He had several cars having a go at him. Just his line was compromised due to that fight. Was not very good for him. Went from P1 to P3. As Milan is up into P2 now.
That's strong for, of course, AERO. It doesn't really matter because they're both from the same team. But they want that race lead. They don't want Len to control this race. As I think somebody's had a bit of a lagging problem, actually.
I think so.
I think Geekin just lagged backwards because he went from P3 to P8. I think he had a bit of an internet connection problem. Of course, there's also the EA servers, which we'll leave out for today's conversation.
Yeah, and I just saw some debris flying again. As the two McLarens are fighting it out. Bushy Bush having to settle for P4 right now.
Yeah. But Robbie Jacobs, though, is catching up as Milan now. I said about they can't let LR take control of this race. They make sure that he doesn't take control of this race, and they ultimately take the lead. And that is now Milan in the lead for AERO. They could be on their way for the Constructors' Championship lead right now, by the way. They're on their way for that because where they currently sit, they are behind. But it's all going to come down to this, isn't it? It's really going to come down to this.
Oh, yeah, and saying that aside, I don't know if that's just me, but the safety car graphic is still showing up for me.
No, it's a problem with the game. It's for some people, not for others. I think it depends on what graphic settings you use. That's from what I've kind of interpreted, because I don't see it with everybody.
Yeah, as there's a bit of a larger gap forming between Stefan and the McLaren to almost 1 second, and that might break the DRS train as it's starting to rain.
Oh, maybe this is why. I think
we might.
Kuchar's, by the way, up to P5 he goes ahead of Bushy. Bushy Bush really starting to struggle. I know he hasn't stopped, but. Why is there such a difference between sort of 6-lap-old mediums, 5-6-lap-old mediums, and of course, 10-lap-old mediums? You know, there's a huge difference going on here, isn't there? You know, we're seeing sort of 7-8 tenths a lap. You know, we're seeing huge amounts of time.
Yeah, and this might change up strategy a lot. I mean, it will change up strategy a lot because we're seeing it's going to be intermediates if it keeps raining, and that is going to change up a lot. It's going to have to be several stops, which of course puts in no room for error when you're racing against other people.
Yeah, very much. I do agree with you, but still look at how close this is. Everybody has DRS all the way down to P12. They're all so incredibly close. Talking about further behind, Geekin making his way past, fighting actually with a Red Bull. Mercedes versus Red Bull. It's Geekin who has damage. He's the man who has damage. And I think he might let his teammate by. Yes, he is. He almost brake checks his teammate, by the way.
Oh.
Did you see that? How he almost brake checked his own teammate? That was interesting.
Yeah, I did see that. That's
a little
always
bit worrying.
Tough with letting people
I think
through,
Anonymous got a little bit scared, but still.
Course, when you're going off the racing line to let someone through, you're really unpredictable in that. And that can be a problem. It can mess up your race. As Milan is sitting quite comfortably in the lead. We haven't really seen massive fights from Len. It's like Leclerc sitting behind Piastri, and we're not very seeing many moves from him.
I saw a bit of a half spin further back. Somebody's really going slowly out of the final corner. That was the Red Bull, by the way, that was going really slowly. Geekin pulls into the pits. Let's just hope for no retirement, please. Praying to God.
Is it too far for Len to think about it? No, it's... Oh, yes, it is. It looked... He put his nose in the inside for a second there, but he took it right back in.
I think that's the only difference. But also because it is raining, it is allowing them to save their tyres a little bit more, and maybe down the inside pushing... He does push him quite a bit, doesn't he? Milan.
Yeah, he does push him. He's not quite close enough to move to the inside. But he... Oh, as the McLaren was looking to go around the inside, and he's trying to get a switch back. Is he going to make it stick? No, he's not. He just has to...
He has to let Anonymous by. He's on older tyres. He's on old mediums. But like I said to you, I said this to you in qualifying, didn't I, about Bushy Bush? He struggles in race conditions. He's really been struggling all race, you know, up and down the order, but he's been struggling overall.
Len into the pits.
A lot of drivers into the pits, actually. Half the grid, I think.
They're going for intermediates, I think.
Whoa, Bushy Bush, by the way, almost spinning it.
I saw that, yeah. That was difficult.
But for Milan, he now leads by 1.2 seconds.
That will break the DRS, and that will give Milan a massive advantage to pull away. As long as he can keep up to pace with until he has to go to intermediate time.
Yeah, I think he'll go in this lap.
Possibly, but
I don't think the hard's
at around 1 point. Yeah, the hards were not a good strategy call, especially with the rain. It's for the people that put on hards from incidents at the start, hoping to go until the end. The rain kind of messed them up.
Yeah, the one stop is a good thing, but with the rain, I think they would have been hoping. I think because the safety car came out, I think they were hoping that they would have gone a few more laps into this race before they had to go to the intermediates. I think they were probably hoping to go maybe another 4 or 5 laps into this race. Yeah, I think that was probably the hope that they had, was to go another, at least 3 more laps into this race before they had to go to the tyres. But as they cross
Milan
for lap
14... doesn't come into the pits.
Interesting. Yeah, Milan's still staying out. We're actually watching him right now. It's interesting to see as a midfield maestro goes up to P5. Minjake feels like it's time to come in. Let's actually see Len. Let's see how far ahead he pulls out on the intermediates. He's really far in front.
Oh, as Minjake comes in, and he had his front wing replaced, so that is quite a bit of time lost. He's going to get overtaken by
Geekin as well. Yeah, Geekin's in front. Remember, it was slightly different.
Yeah. Milan, the McLaren is just fighting to get into that DRS, and I think it might just make it to the next detection point. Oh, that's a big slide. That definitely lost a bit of time. Might not have DRS for the upcoming corners, but of course right now it's up to the drivers to judge whether the track is wet enough for intermediates. Because with how each of the drivers drive, intermediate conditions is different for everyone. they can be faster on a dry compound when it's wetter, when some drivers are faster on intermediates. It really depends on who's driving the car, which makes it very interesting because, of course, with tire degradation with intermediate and wet tires, it's very different to dry tires because they don't degrade as much. So going for an undercut or an overcut with intermediates, it really doesn't work as well as it would with dries. So
Yeah.
staying out longer, even though it's wet, doesn't really work.
No, it doesn't. To be honest, it rarely does.
It won't give you the tire advantage
Yeah,
near the end of
but
the
we
race.
are seeing the intermediates at the moment. In half a lap, they've given Len about near on 2 seconds. He's gained on midfield maestro, by the way. So Len is gaining a lot of time on the car in front, which I think is kind of proving that the intermediates are a lot faster than the dry tires right now. But the others are ignoring it. And I know it's not hugely wet, but at the moment, if Inters are gaining time, you can't ignore that. But I will say something. Is it just me, or is the rain getting less? Is rain moving away, especially in the final sector? It seems to be going away a bit.
I think it's still raining, so conditions aren't going to fully dry up, but it's not getting a lot wetter. The track doesn't look very wet. It looks like a track you would race with dry tires after it's already rained the day before.
And we can see a move going on, Anonymous versus Robbie Jacobs. I think at the moment, AERO might be paving their way to a Constructors' Championship here. They might be paving their way at the moment, because they're 1-2.
And who's in the lead of the Drivers' Championship right now?
We don't have one for fours, because there'd be so many drivers.
Oh, I see.
There'd be so many drivers.
Yeah,
But
fair
ultimately,
enough.
as you can see, Anonymous making his way round. When I see this, when I see a 1-2, when I see these guys on for 44 points on their own, as Pishi now retires a 4th retirement. Surprising, I must say, to have 4 retirements already, but not hugely surprising. We're near on halfway through the race, so you won't hear me complaining though. We are 7. We're on to lap 17 out of 36. So we are already quite a bit into the race, and to be honest, it could have been a lot worse.
It definitely could have. I haven't seen anyone on intermediates hasn't actually overtaken a dry runner yet, but we might see that in a second as Len is a 10th behind, and he gets the run on midfield maestro, and with the DRS he tucks just in front of him and gets the easy position.
I think Len has been really smart here, and I think LR have been really smart, and I'm going to say why, because at the moment Len is gaining so much time. He's still got DRS, remember? He's still getting DRS, and he's on intermediate tyres, which are seconds faster a lap now. And he's just gaining all this time. So think about it. Intermediates, they can go from race start to race finish. They can do the whole race. And so for Len, when he's looking at this, he's going, oh, look at me. I only went on these 5 laps ago. Even if you go onto these now, you're not going to gain a lot more time over me. As I think we can see Stefan Kuchin coming into the pits now. He doesn't particularly want to get in the way. There's a McLaren going slowly in the final sector. That's Bushy Bush, by the way, who's going slowly. He's lost his entire front wing. What has happened to that McLaren, and what is happening to POR in this final race?
That is very unfortunate. A title currently leading the constructors. That will hurt. That will really hurt.
It very much will, because AERO, I mean, you look at them, P1, P2, P8 and P9, they're going to, at the moment, they might actually win this championship.
And I haven't actually noticed this yet, but Anonymous at the front has a 3-second time penalty, so he's going to want to pull away as far as he can. But with how close these drivers are in skill, and with the intermediate runners just coming up now, with, as you can see, midfield maestro has already dropped through the pack into P7 on those hard tires. The dry runners really don't want to pit right now, because it would be detrimental to their race. But Anonymous leading right now. Before the intermediate runners pitted, he was in P10, I believe.
Yeah, he was. I just want to name some. I just want to put something out here quick. POR only scoring 23 points, and AERO on for 50. Now AERO need to outscore POR by 30 points to win the championship. They only need POR to drop another about 3-4 points for them to win the Constructors' Championship. So it is literally on a knife edge right now because Unknown isn't in a position to score points. Bushy Bush is most definitely not in a position to score points. Robbie Jacobs is sitting there, but remember, after the shake-up with some drivers being on old inters, some being on newer inters, that could all change. It's a lot is going on, and, you know, at the moment, I don't see POR walking away with a very good day.
I don't think so, but I feel like this being the season finale, we might see some desperate measures, some Osama bin Russell, should I say.
Yeah, Osama bin Russell, that's going to be an interesting one to see. But Len is in the provisional lead, by the way. He's 1.8 behind, which is exactly the same as Robbie Jacobs is to the car in front, who is anonymous. But Len has really caught up to this, hasn't he? He's gained a whole pit stop from this.
Yeah, the dry runners, they're praying for the rain to stop, but as it looks to me, it's just getting harder. It's raining harder. It's not looking good for them. I think the fact that they went onto the hard tires, they're trying to make up for it and not have to pit, because that would be a waste. But I think that dream, it's gone. They need to box if they want any chance of finishing inside the points still.
Very much, I do agree. But at the moment, remember, at the minute that Len gets past Robbie Jacobs, they're dropping through those 3 points. POR are dropping those 3 points that they need to not lose. They're dropping those 3-4 points. And so we see a tie?
I do think so, but the dry runners, I mean, I'm saying dry runners, it's everyone's on hard, so they will want to go to the end of the race. Is Len to Robbie Jacobs, they're side by side through turn 1, and Robbie just knows it's not his fight. He can't do anything. But the dry runners, ideally, they should want to.
Deacon, 10-second time penalty.
Yeah.
Speeding in the
that's
pit
unfortunate.
lane.
In the wet. Advances. It's difficult in the wet to brake.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, the hard runners, they want to. They want to hold back the intermediate runners as much as they can, and of course, as soon as it gets dry, they will have the advantage. So
it's dry. It stopped raining.
No, it is raining.
No, it stopped.
No, it's still raining.
On my screen, it isn't.
On mine, it is. But when the track is fully dry conditions and it doesn't rain at all, then they will have the advantage. So they will just have to hold back the intermediate runners. And I do think it's actually stopping raining now. When I was saying that, I was still seeing droplets, but it's looking dry now. Robbie Jacobs in the pits, and if he pits for intermediates, this will be very funny.
We'll have to see. I think he's going to go to maybe the medium tyres to end off the race. They last about that amount of time. Yes, he is going to the mediums. I think everybody's going mediums or hard tyres to end off their race, depending on what tyres they've got left.
I think that might be a very good call, actually.
Yeah,
since
I think maybe AERO might have just walked away with a title here.
It's definitely stopped raining, and Len gained so many Len got so many overtakes, and it looked so promising for him with those intermediates, but at what cost?
Yeah,
Is it Unknown even goes onto the soft? I believe he has a time penalty, so he will have to make that up, so that is a smart tyre for that.
Yeah, it is. I think at the moment, really, POR, they're having back-to-back kind of weakish weekends, aren't they, compared to the rest of the season where they've sort of come away with podiums and wins. They've had a rough few races now. Anonymous stays out while Milan comes into the pits, I think, because they need to choose who comes into the pits first. And I think because Anonymous, of course, has that penalty.
I think Anonymous might be going until the end. He's
had a
going
stop,
faster than he has had a stop. His tires are 18 laps old. He can make it until the end.
He can't do that. It's only 20 laps that these hards take. 20 to 25, so he won't be able to make it.
He could stretch it.
He could, but he'd lose a lot of time doing that.
I mean, he has almost... How much is pit lane loss?
Pit lane loss is about, what, 16 to 18 seconds?
I mean, if he pits now...
It's one of the shortest pit lanes.
If he pits now, he comes out P4.
Hmm.
So... This could actually look good for him. He pits for fresh tyres, gets ahead, and builds a big enough gap that the time penalty doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needs to do. Right.
I think so. That's the best idea. And...
He doesn't, though.
I mean, it's interesting. We'll see. He could stretch those hards a few more laps and pit on soft. So I think that would be the smart idea. Then just push as hard as he can. Don't worry about tire degradation because, of course, not very many laps left. He'll...
Kuchar's 3-second time penalty, that's going to set him back.
Penalties today.
He's going to go down to 8th. He's going to go down to 8th now, and that is losing them points. So just to quickly just check how many points they are going to score at the moment, just at the moment... they're walking away with 16, which puts them at risk.
He's going until the end on those hard tires. Six laps old.
He's performing though.
12 laps left.
He's gonna make it.
I think we could see him go for a podium.
Yeah, definitely a podium is on here. But what we're gonna see from Milan here is we're gonna see some teamwork between him and Anonymous, where he's going to hold them up to make sure they don't close in enough. Because at the moment, Anonymous is rounding the final corner and they're only just making it out of the second sector. So there's a whole sector difference between these two. You know? And I know that isn't too long, but it's still long enough.
Yeah. And might I mention, Lan was going from fighting for the win and it was looking so good for him, but I think the intermediates just didn't work. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, maybe, but at the same time, I think he would have lost more time if he was on the dry tyres, because he was struggling out there. He was really struggling.
Yeah, that's fair. I think his race, he was looking at a victory, but unfortunately for him, I think that's out of bounds.
With Gauzy, by the way, goes for P5. He's fighting for TIR to
Another
get
3-second time penalty for Shadow.
Yeah. He's P14 though, so for him, he's going to finish last at the moment. His race really not being what he wanted it to be. But Gauzy still fighting with Stefan Kuchin. It's now Gauzy goes up to P5. Shadow retires from the race. It's a virtual safety car. Could this turn to a safety car? That's the big question. This would be the interesting question. Could this turn to a safety car? We'll have to see.
This would be the best time for Anonymous to pit for softs.
But he doesn't. He stays out.
If it turns full safety car, he needs to pit like straight away. He won't lose this 18 seconds to Maestro who pits now. So 20 seconds to Robbie. He needs to pit.
Yeah, he does.
Otherwise, he's not going to make it. He's going to have fresh tire runners starting behind him. If it turns to a full safety car.
But of course, the virtual safety car is saving him time, though. It is saving him tyre wear, and it is saving him some time of where they can catch him. That's the only good thing with the virtual safety cars, that it's maybe saving him a lap.
Yeah, but you can't go to the end of these. He needs to pit. This would be the best time.
He might go in now.
If he doesn't go in now, I reckon he's going till the end.
He only needs about 18 seconds in the pit lane, by the way. That's all you need. So he could just come out in front. Theoretically, he could come out in front here. As they're going again. Is he going to go in? No. He's going to keep going.
I think he needs to go until the end on this now.
Yeah. He doesn't really have a choice because they're within 18 seconds now. But look at them. They've gained. They've gained because of where the restart got going again. They've gained a lot back on him.
That was a very bad restart for him anyway.
No, I don't think it was a bad restart. I think it was where he was when it restarted. As Geekin gets a 3-second time penalty, that's not going to help AERO, but they are where Geekin's miles behind. But this is a real mind game now, isn't it? Of who's going to do what and who's going to win the constructors. Because at the moment, I believe POR might just stretch out the constructors here as they're side by side. Gauzy's going for a double move. 3 wide. Into turn 3 we go. All contact between a few drivers now. It looks like POR might have just sealed their constructors title with P2 and P3.
That is very good for Anonymous's race individually, because P1, the McLaren just closes the door, and that was incredible. That was some contact. But of course, them fighting back there is very good for Anonymous. He gets to calmly sit in the lead, but he's gonna have to stretch those already.
Down the inside, Milan. He's fighting back. He's doing it for his team, and he has dive bombed not 1 but 2.
Oh, he was a bit early on the brakes. He has to tuck in behind, but is he going to have DRS here? Yes, he will. He's going to get a run on the McLaren, as will some other cars, as there's a bit of lag. Kulhos gets a fastest lap.
Whoa!
That's incredible. He's out.
He's going to keep going. He's only got wing damage. He's only got the end plate off, so he can keep going.
I saw a wheel come off. Anonymous is going to have to stretch those tires for another 8 laps. There's already 23 lap old tires. His race, if he pits now, it's not going to work.
Yeah, but Kuchars isn't catching that much as Bushy Bush now retires. At the moment, I'm a bit worried. Can POR actually do it? Because Robbie is now in P7. Could they do it? Oh my god. It's only going to be P6 and P7 at the moment. They're only going to score 14 points.
Anything could happen, but I feel like...
And at the moment...
It's a lost cause for them.
Whoa! Kuchars!
Oh no!
He's in the wall!
He's still alive, but he has front wing that... Oh, and he's just screwed his front wing even more. Oh... And is it going to... It's not a safety car, it's just a yellow flag, but...
Does that mean...
His race gone. His front wing's completely gone.
Does that mean... AERO have just won the title? In the final race?
I think it does.
Let me do some calculating on this. Because Robbie is going to get 8 points. That's it. 8 points. How many is... Hang on, this is the big question. This is a big question now. I think they might have just done it. 49 points versus 8 at the moment.
If it sticks like this,
they're going to take the lead of the championship of 20 points.
That's incredible. That is looking amazing.
Robbie Jacobs is done.
Jacobs retires.
That's it.
Safety car.
First of all, how are we down to 12 or 13 or whatever? I'm quite confused by that.
Anonymous needs to pit now, for soft. I think he just has to, because the pack's going to bunch up and he'll be dead. But I think they did,
said to you before tonight that it would be chaos, didn't I? I said it would be chaos because of championship. Kuchars is going to keep going. He's
still trying. And
5 minutes ago, we were talking about AERO trying to win the championship, and POR at that point, they were on to win the championship. 3 minutes later, it looks like AERO are going to take the championship.
It does. It really does.
With literally 7 laps to go.
And also...
Anonymous is in.
Oh yeah, and Robbie Jacobs' retirement was due to his controller dying, so that might change. That could change the course of things. Restarts can go miles.
There won't be a restart because of that, sadly.
As in a safety car restart?
No, not safety car restart. Lobby restart, because somebody's been questioning it again.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, restarts can go miles, as in safety car restarts. It can change up the whole
I've heard too many restarts about the lobby now. I'm just stuck in thinking about the lobby.
Yeah, but this could change a lot, as Anonymous finally does the smart thing.
Anonymous, on the soft tyres, of course, he has got that penalty, though. That's his only risk. By the way, midfield Maestro's staying out on the mediums, so maybe midfield Maestro might be the saving angel in all of this for AEO to
Because
walk away with the title.
if midfield Maestro holds back Milan, allows Anonymous to build up a gap. Coolhouse goes into the pits again. He's already pitted for fresh softs, but he's pitting again. Is he retiring?
I think he might be getting rid of his penalty. No, he's putting on softs. He was on mediums.
No, he already had softs on. He's already pitted for softs.
Okay. Was he getting rid of his penalty then? He might have been trying to get rid of his penalty.
I think so. Does he have a penalty?
No, he still has it.
Oh, that's really unfortunate. But I mean, it's lost him 2 positions.
They're only on for P11, P12, no points. First race, by the way, where POR would have scored 0 points. That's where they're sitting at the moment.
But at the same time, the restarts go miles.
They do, but of course the penalty against him is not going to help. Only 4 drivers have penalties, and it's gonna be a pretty rough one.
It will be, and I think the penalty he couldn't take it in the pit lane because I believe you can't take a penalty in the safety car.
No, you can't. So I think really his only chance is to race it out.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think he's only going to be racing for himself because the team doesn't really have very much hope, and I feel like it's going to be a while until the restart because the pack has to bunch up, and you see how far they are. It might take up until even lap 34 for the cars to get going again.
Yeah, maybe I think it'll probably be lap 33 because there is a limit to how long the safety car can be out for, which is I believe 4 laps, and it's already been out for 2. But Anonymous might win this race. We will see at least. I mean, if midfield Maestro wins for TIR, that would be surprising, wouldn't it? That would be a very surprising evening for TIR to take back second in the Constructors.
I'm calling it now. Milan, dive bomb, turn 3, double overtake.
Interesting. We are going for another lap, but I do think we're going to see Kuchar's catch up in that time. Hello, Bush. Hello, welcome to the stream. Yeah, only a few laps remaining, of course, only coming down to 4 whole laps remaining, and that's going to become 3 when we arrive to the next lap. When we do get going, it'll be 3. Has he come into the pit? He's done it again. He's come into the pits again. Is he retiring? If he's going to try and get rid of his penalty, holy.
That's going to be pretty funny.
He's still trying.
retiring.
It's not going to get rid of his. It's not going to get rid of your penalty. I'm sorry, my friend. You got to wait. I think.
And now he's going to restart like 30 seconds behind.
I think he will be able to catch because he's only 2 corners behind at the moment. So he should be able to catch in enough time. Especially because there's a slow section coming up. But yeah, POR. The title looked certain for them. The title now looks gone.
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap.
We're only going to have 3 laps of racing. 3 of the final laps of 4s. And the championship has...
end.
Yeah, very much. I can't lie. This has been an interesting finale. Yes, we've had tons of retirements, which was one of the things I said before the race. Please try not to DNF. But even then, it's been a big championship decider, hasn't it? It hasn't been POR, they've done really well throughout the race. It's really come down to the last like I said, the last 7 laps where it has fallen to AERO's hands. You know, the last 15 minutes of this race has just fell into their hands. And now we're going to be watching Anonymous. He can choose when he wants to get away from it. All of the wiggling going on. Now Anonymous goes. He's got to build that gap. He's actually got a really good getaway, by the way. He's miles off in the distance.
That was perfect timing. Midfield Maestro had a lock up just as he started. It held back everyone behind him. He might just break out of the DRS.
He might. and
Just
he's
before it
about
starts.
9 tenths ahead already. He's already made it to a second. He needs it to be 3. So he hasn't got long to do it. 3 laps. He needs to gain a second a lap.
Oh, as Gauzy, Milan is fighting. Oh, this is incredible. Midfield Maestro is down to P5. Milan's on the outside of Gauzy, just tucks in right in front. Beautiful. That was turn 3. What did I think? What did I say?
I don't know. I
I said double overtake, dive bomb.
Yeah. It didn't happen.
Exactly.
Who's
Well,
P3?
he's in P2.
Yeah.
So, and now he's gonna be trying his best to catch Anonymous, and midfield Maestro on the 8-lap odd medium, showing why you need fresh tyres for a restart.
Yeah. And by the way, Anonymous now, he's off in the distance by near on 2 seconds ahead of his own teammate. So
He might
that
just win
restart
this.
was perfect. Either way, I think we're going to see an AERO driver win. I think that's a given.
Anonymous fastest lap.
Yeah, 2 seconds now. He's just broken that barrier. He's got 2 laps to get another second. He can do it.
And now Milan is going to have to defend against Gauzy, which is going to just allow Anonymous to pull away. And it's looking pretty good for him as Gauzy just has a look down the inside but doesn't manage. Minjek up to P5 after his...
Len as well, by the way. Len, he's pushing his way through. He's into P3. We said about Len having a tough day and his pit strategy wasn't the best. I think that's a bit of a change now as he's having a battle over a podium.
We've just had contact between the Williams and the V car. By the way, they were side by side, and they had contact, slowed each other down. And that's not going to help them trying to get Milan. Is Anonymous 2.4, like same team, but he might just
2.5 now.
2.5.
He needs another half a second. He needs to do that again for him to win. But I don't think his teammate will want to do it. Now, 2.7 is the distance. We can see some racing going on. Minjake, he's going for a double move. 3 wide through turn 1. 2 get pushed off. Minjake makes his way through. Are we seeing an AERO 1, 2, 3 going on? Maybe not, but we are seeing another 3 going wide into turn 3. And look at the dive bombs. We got about half the grid going side by side. As they still go around Milan. Now they're over 3 seconds behind their teammate Anonymous. Into the next corner they go. They're still going side by side. Minjake now takes P2 away from Milan, just in front. It looks like Stefan Kuchen out of nowhere has done the same.
That is absolutely incredible. The fighting, he's side by side right now. He tucks in behind, but he's fighting so hard. Stefan Kuchen, haven't really talked about him this race, but he's fighting.
But we got to look to the final corner. Hang on a second, because we got to look to the final corner, and it is Anonymous who's going to win in Austria in the finale for AERO and take the Constructors' Championship with a 1, 2, 3 and a P. I think 11 that was for Geekin. An absolute last-minute championship victory. I must say, this is the stuff of dreams, and AERO have made that clear.
They have. It's just incredible. This, like, it's looked swayed from side to side this whole race. We didn't know who was going to win it. Constant safety cars, constant incidents. The strategy calls you've had to make, and it's worked out. And they've got the best of it. POR just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it today.
Very disappointing. But let's go through the race order. Anonymous wins, followed by his 2 teammates, Minjake and Milan, in 2nd and 3rd. Full AERO podium. Stefan Kuchen is in 4th, followed by Len. Gauzy advances. Midfield Maestro, FLR, Kuchars, then Geekin and Unknown are the 2 left outside of the points. All the retirements were Robbie Jacobs, Bushy Bush, Shadow, Pesci, Kurak, Patrick and Tartar Sauce. But I've got to ask, who is your driver of the day out of all of that?
My driver of the day, I think it's got to be Minjake. He's been ever on the grid. He's been in the incidents. He's been at the back, and he's still got the best of it. He finished P2, and that's probably the best finishing position he could have gotten.
I think for me, it's got to be Stefan Kuchen, P12 to P4. A day that you cannot complain about. Really.
Yeah, exactly. It's just amazing. It's been such an interesting race to watch and commentate. The it was like POR came into this leading the championship, and all they had to do was not get outscored by too much, but they haven't managed that.
Yeah, a real lack in confidence, I'd say. POR came into this. They seemed like that in qualifying as well. Their confidence really was lacking. But ultimately, it is AERO who are your champions for Fords in Season 2. Sadly, that is time to end the stream. It's that time once again, I know. Don't cry, it's okay. Ultimately, it's been really enjoyable this week. I know we've had quite a lot of DNFs, but a championship that generally went down to the wire, down to the last sort of 7-8 laps. We haven't had that a lot of times this season, but ultimately, today we have. And, last time round we had that was, of course, Tier 2, where, of course, POR actually did take the championship in that, by the way. They actually did. So, 3 different constructors have won all of our 3 different tiers. AMS for Tier 1, POR for Tier 2, and AERO for 4. So I really thought, coming into tonight, that POR were going to take a double championship this season, but sadly, it's not come to them. Ultimately, that is that, and that is the calendar all over. Thank you for joining me, Manatee. It's been great. Hopefully, I'll see you in Tier 1 a few more times for the last 2 races this season.
Yeah, you definitely will.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that. Ultimately, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like. And also click on that notification bell to know about all the content we're going to be releasing, because there is going to be clips. There is going to be a highlights reel, by the way, of each championship at the end of the season. Ultimately, thank you guys so much. And I'll see you very, very soon. And I'll see you actually on Tuesday. So 2 days' time. So make sure to be here at 8 p.m. And then also the next week, which will be the finale of Tier 1. Ultimately, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Goodbye. Sundays, but here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights.
Humans, what have you learned?